Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Planning Board meeting, October 27th, 2021. We have a number of items on the agenda. We have Councillor Duran is online listening and participating because he has another commitment, but he's here for the meeting, and Councillor Snow is at a province, but we have 6 councillors here. We also have our CAO, Rob Philpott, and I'm not sure if anybody in the corner there. And we have our engineer from Tech Services, Aaron McDonald, and Linda Stevenson from Tech Services, and Brian Harligan on my left here, running the controls, and we have members of the public. So welcome, and welcome to all our YouTube viewers and members of the media who are watching. So, I'll turn it over to the chair right now to get the agenda approved, and Councillor Brian McFeely, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship, and we'll move right into the Planning Board meeting, and certainly welcome folks. Just for people's information, I guess, the members of Planning Board are Councillor Ramsey, Councillor Adams, the Mayor, and myself. Other councillors are certainly present and welcome to participate in the meeting. And as the Mayor said, Councillor Duran has been replaced by a telephone, so he's joined us by phone. So with that, we would ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Adams, seconded by Councillor Ramsey, that the agenda be approved as circulated. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary, motion carried. So our first item is 705 Water Street East, a restricted use application. The supporting explanation. The purpose of the application is to allow a restricted use dwelling unit in an agricultural zone. Background: the application was received from Julie Hall and Mike Martin for 705 Water Street East, PID number 72397. This application will require Council's approval to allow a dwelling unit as a restricted use on the second floor of an existing agricultural building. And there's a drawing there showing the location of the building on the property. And as well as sort of a rendering of what the building would look like on the property. So the staff report: under section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, when planning board reviews a restricted use, it has to consider the following general criteria as applicable. A, conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, the zoning bylaw. Staff comment: this application requires a restricted use approval in the agricultural zone in order to conform to this bylaw. The current zoning, agricultural zone A, does not change. One of the purposes of the restricted use designation is to accommodate unique uses where rezoning would result in undesirable land uses due to as of right in that zone. The proposed restricted use is permitted in other zones. If the property were to be rezoned to one of these zones to accommodate the restricted use being sought, it would result in other undesirable land uses in the area. The specific uses can be achieved by designating a portion of the property as restricted use, allowing only the restricted use. B, conformity with the official plan. Staff comment: the proposed restricted use would conform to the official plan as the land use will remain as agriculture. Should the restricted uses cease to operate for 12 months, the restricted use lapses and the zoning remains as agricultural. A, and can be utilized as such. The restricted use is a property specific. A change in property ownership would not require an approval. C, suitability of the site with the proposed development. Staff comment: the site is suitable for the proposed restricted use as the site is a 9.56 acre parcel of land. D, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses. Staff comment: the existing land uses surrounding this property are single-family residential R1 to the south and east, low-density mixed residential R2 to the west, and agricultural A to the north. And that piece is owned by the applicant. The proposed land use to the west is residential, and the proposed land use to the north is agricultural. The proposed restricted use is compatible with the existing and proposed and will have minimal impact on the surrounding properties. And map is there showing the subject property and the properties around it. E, any comments from residents and other interested persons? A public meeting was held on October 19, 2021. The public meeting notice was advertised in the October 5th edition of The Guardian. 10 letters were mailed to 12 property owners. Staff comment, the applicant, Julie Hall, Mike Martin, provided an explanation of his request for the proposed restricted uses. No one from the public spoke at the public meeting. The development officer received a call from Hillcrest Housing, who owns the adjacent land west of the subject property, requesting clarity on the application. No further comments were received. F, adequacy of the existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking, and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements. Staff comment, the city's water supply and sewer treatment system can handle the loading created by the restricted use. Water Street East will handle the additional traffic from the proposed dwelling unit. The building will house the restricted use as an electrical service. Being as the building is existing, the stormwater is not impacted. On-site parking is available for the proposed use. Parkland dedication is not required for a restricted use application. G, impacts of the development on pedestrian vehicle access and safety and on public safety generally. Staff comment, the existing access for the main house will serve as the access for the proposed restricted use, so there will be no impact on the pedestrian vehicle access and safety. There is a sidewalk on the south side of Water Street East with pedestrian crossings nearby at Gillespie and Small Avenues. H, compatibility of development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. Staff comment, there are no compatibility issues regarding scenic or heritage resources. Impact on city finances and budget. City costs. Staff comment, development does not impact city finances or budget. Other matters as specified in this bylaw. Staff comment, not applicable. Other matters as considered relevant. Staff comment, the applicant will be subject to a building permit. So the staff reviews, city staff support the application from Julie Hall to allow a dwelling unit as a restricted use in an agricultural building for the agricultural zone. As per section 5.10, subsection B3 of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward to council for a final decision. So the planning board recommendation, the application received from Julie Hall and Mike Martin to allow the proposed use dwelling unit as a restricted use within an agricultural building in the agricultural A zone be recommended to be approved by council. And I would ask for a mover and a seconder to that. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Adams. And with that, I would open the floor to any questions or discussions.
Maybe you mentioned it there and I didn't pick it up, but I'll get you to clarify it there. It says change in ownership would not require an approval. So are we doing this for the person or for the property?
For the property, I believe, yeah.
So if it's sold or changed, we don't have to come back here?
Right.
Even if there was a purchaser that he wanted to change it a bit?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm just wondering.
if I bought the property, I would not have to come back to you. I would still have that use there. If whoever buys it would not, they would still get that restricted use would go with the property. They would not come forward for any change. Now, if they wanted to do something different as a new property owner, they would have to come back for it.
If they want to change the use, they'd have to come back.
So the use is clear?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McDougall.
Thanks. My question is around the electrical, as in, they say they have the building there, and they're gonna put a dwelling in it. Why wouldn't there be two separate services? I thought we were required that, because if they have that as a rental, or...
There may be things that come out, that's what we're saying. This is the land use issue.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to require to get a building permit, and they'll follow whatever process is
Okay,
required.
that could come under the building.
Correct, we're saying, we're just
Would
gonna
it,
deal
would
with.
it come under the building permit, or the where does that, where does that pop up if I'm the owner and I want to get, I get approval for the thing? And how do I find out whether I need 2 electrical services or 1? So it's just a question, so, and I know it doesn't affect the rezoning, but,
Normally what happens is when the building permit comes in, a copy of this will be sent up to the electric utility, and they'll inform us if it will require the second panel or what have you.
but isn't there a policy around that? I thought there was a policy that if you have a basement apartment, you have to have 2 panels, that type of thing. So-
And again, they'll confirm that. I just don't know that personally.
This wouldn't be classed though as an additional apartment. I mean, where the horses are gonna be or the animals.
Still a separate unit though, so,
Yeah.
but it would be handled through the building permit process. Yeah. Deputy,
Go ahead. Sorry, if I'll just interrupt, the owner is watching, and he just sent a message that there are 2 panels now.
Good.
So it's good.
okay.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention that he was gonna be watching live, sorry.
Okay, welcome. And Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have just a clarification question on Clause H, on the compatibility of development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. And Director Aaron, I'm just wondering, is there any areas around there, or are there any heritage areas around that property? Or is that just something that goes into the report, so people know?
That's a standard clause of the criteria that are considered. And again, it's an existing building that they built. What you see is the pictures. They built a large stable for their horses in the front
Right.
agriculture property. This is just going to occupy a portion inside that building.
No, that's good. I guess I'm just going to be asking more questions around heritage, since we had a committee meeting with heritage people, just to be sure
Sure,
that they
yeah.
know we're asking. Thank you.
Yep.
Don't see any other lights, or are we ready for the question?
Question.
If so, we will read the recommendation again. The application received from Judy Hall, Mike Martin, to allow the proposed use, dwelling unit as a restricted use within an agricultural building in an agricultural A zone be recommended to be approved by council, and I believe that was moved by Councillor Ramsey and second by Councillor Adams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried, so that recommendation will go to council on November 2nd, yeah. Okay.
What time is that meeting on the 2nd? Just. Special council meeting will be 5:30, but. Just so people will be watching. We'll actually be starting at 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay, but,
We'll move into
Public
special
session.
council at 5:30.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
thank you.
Okay, our second item on the agenda is a discretionary use application for 92 Summer Street. Supporting explanation. Purpose. The purpose of the application is to allow a 4-unit apartment building as a discretionary use in the medium-density residential R3 zone. A discretionary use requires council approval. Apartment means a building containing more than 2 dwelling units. The background. An application was received from Natalie and Jim Clark for 92 Summer Street, PID number 310516, to allow an apartment building up to 4 units as a discretionary use in the medium-density residential R3 zone. The applicant is proposing to convert the existing single-family home into 4 apartments. And there's floor plans provided there for each of the proposed 4 units. The staff report. Under section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, when the planning board reviews a discretionary use, it has to consider the following general criteria as applicable. Conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, the zoning bylaw. Staff comment, this application requires a discretionary use approval in the R3 zone in order to conform to this bylaw. If council approves the discretionary use for an apartment building, the applicant can proceed to obtain a building permit. Conformity with the official plan. Staff comment, the discretionary use conforms to the official plan. Suitability of the site for the proposed development. Staff comment, this site is suitable for this development as the applicant is converting an existing building. There is sufficient on-site parking for the proposed 4-unit apartment building. D, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses. Staff comment, the property is zoned medium-density residential R3. The existing R3 zone allows 2 units as of right. The surrounding land uses and proposed land uses are a mix of institutional, I, neighborhood commercial, C3, medium-density residential R3, which are compatible with the proposed development. And there's a map there showing the subject property on the corner of the south corner, I guess, of Winter and Summer Street. E, any additional comments from residents or other interested persons? A public meeting was held on August 19th, 2020. The public meeting notice was advertised in the October 5th edition of The Guardian. 27 letters were mailed to 21 property owners. Staff comment, no written comments were received prior to the public meeting regarding this application. Natalie Clark, co-property owner, spoke, providing an overview of the proposed intent for the discretionary use. George Dalton of 288 Notre Dame Street spoke and provided a history of the property and complimented the applicants for repurposing their property in hopes the exterior of the home would remain unchanged. F, adequacy of the existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking, and parkland for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements. Staff commented, discretionary use has a minimal impact on the city's water, sewer, and electrical services. Stormwater collection may be required to direct storm drainage water to the existing city storm system, which will accommodate the additional flow. There is no city parking or parkland requirements. The property will be required to provide 1 parking space for each dwelling unit. G, impacts of the development on pedestrian vehicular access and safety and on public safety generally. Staff comment, the development has an existing access on Winter Street. Pedestrians have access to existing sidewalks on both Summer and Winter Street. H, compatibility of development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. Staff comment, the development is compatible with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. The property is not a designated property under the Heritage Bylaw SS-220. The Heritage Planning Board is not required to review a discretionary use proposal on a supporting but non-designated historical property. The property known as Couple House has been profiled and is listed on the Canadian Historic Places Registry. The profile is attached to this report. I, impact of on the city's finances and budget. Staff comment, this development does not impact city finances or budget. J, other matters as specified in this bylaw. Staff comment, in March of 2020, Council approved a similar discretionary use to allow a single-family dwelling to be converted to a 4-unit apartment building at 91 Central Street. K, other matters as considered relevant. Staff comment, the applicant will be subject to a building permit. The applicant wish to remain in their current neighborhood but want to downsize and reduce home maintenance costs. Convert the existing home into a 4-unit apartment building would achieve this. The applicant will occupy one of the units and rent out the other units. They also recognize the demand for additional housing in Summerside. Staff review, City Council support the application for discretionary use to allow a 4-unit apartment building in the medium-density residential R3 zone as per section 5.10, subsection B3 of the zoning bylaw. The planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward to council for a final decision. And the planning board recommendation is the application received from Natalie and Jim Clark to allow apartment building 4-unit as discretionary use in the medium density residential R3 zone be recommended to be approved by council. And we would ask for a mover and a seconder to that. So moved by Councillor Adams, second by Councillor Ramsey, and attached here, as indicated in the document, are write up on the historical significance of the property, but I don't think we need to read that into the record. We would just table that, folks, so. So we have, I don't see any lights on, so no questions?
No questions.
No questions?
Do you want me to
You have a comment?
comment? Just a comment.
No
that okay?
problem, Deputy Mayor. We would welcome a comment.
Again, I just want to be very consistent and for our public records today, and thank the staff for highlighting very clearly Section E and Section H on the heritage comments, as well as noting in your report the comments from Mr. Dalton with regards to the heritage integrity. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, so I'll read the recommendation again here. The application received from Natalie and Jim Clark to allow apartment building 4 units as a discretionary use in the medium-density residential R3 zone be recommended to be approved by council. Moved by Councillor Adams and seconded by Councillor Ramsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried, and that again would be going to council on November 2nd, 5:30.
Moving right along, eh?
Okay, next, and our final item on the agenda is a discretionary use application for 90 and 94 Cedar Street. Supporting explanation, the purpose of the application is to allow a group home as a discretionary use in a medium-density residential R3 zone. A discretionary use requires council approval. Group home means a building for accommodating individuals who are not a family, live under supervision in a single housekeeping unit because of their special physical, social, or mental needs, and may also include a caretaker family. Background: an application was received from the Boys and Girls Club of Summerside for 90 Cedar Street, PID number 303792, and 94 Cedar Street, PID number 303800, to allow a group home as a discretionary use in the medium-density residential R3 zone. The applicant is proposing to utilize the existing single-family dwelling at 90 Cedar Street for an emergency shelter and the existing single-family dwelling at 94 Cedar Street for transitional housing. And the map there shows the 2 properties in question. In the staff report, under section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, when planning board reviews a discretionary use, it has to consider the following general criteria as applicable. Conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, the zoning bylaw. Staff comment: the application requires a discretionary use approval in the R3 zone in order to conform to the bylaw. If council approves a discretionary use for a group home, the applicant can proceed to obtain a building permit. Conformity with the official plan. Staff comment: the discretionary use conforms to the official plan. Suitability of the site for the proposed development. Staff comment: the site is suitable for this development as the applicant is utilizing an existing building. There is sufficient on-site parking for the proposed discretionary use. Conformity with the conformity of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses. Staff comment: the property is zoned medium-density residential R3. The existing R3 zone allows up to 2 units as of right. The surrounding land uses and proposed land uses are a mix of institutional I, medium-density R3, and high-density R4, which are compatible with proposed development. And again, the map there showing the 2 properties on Cedar Street. E, any comments from residents or other interested persons? A public meeting was held on October 19th, 2020. The public meeting notice was advertised in the October 5th edition of The Guardian. 29 letters were mailed to 27 property owners. Staff comment: no written comments were received prior to the public meeting regarding the application. 2021. The date on that item E should be, the public meeting was held on October 19th, 2021. Thank you. No written comments were received prior to the public meeting regarding this application. Lisa Hiscock provided an overview of the proposed intent of the discretionary use and the value of this asset to our community. F, adequacy of the existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical service, city parking, and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements. Staff comment, the existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical service can accommodate this discretionary use. There is no city parking or parkland required. Both properties have existing on-site parking. G, impacts of the development on pedestrian vehicular access and safety and on public safety generally. Staff comment, both properties have existing accesses on Cedar Street. Pedestrians have access to the existing sidewalk, the west side of Cedar Street. Compatibility of the development with environmental and scenic and heritage resources. Staff comment, the development is compatible with environment, scenic, and heritage resources. I, impact on city's finances. Staff comment, this application does not impact city finances or budget. J, other matters as specified in this bylaw. Staff comment, no comment. K, other matters as considered relevant. Staff comment, the applicant will be subject to a building permit. So the staff review, city staff support the application for a discretionary use to allow a group home in the medium-density residential R3 zone. And as per section 5.10 subsection B3 of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward to council for a final decision. So the planning board recommendation, the application received from the Boys and Girls Club of Summerside to allow a group home in discretionary use in the medium-density residential R3 zone be recommended to be approved by council. And we would ask for a mover and a seconder from planning board. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Adams. Any questions or comments?
The Boys and Girls Club will own all of the properties from Notre Dame down
Yes,
to
that's, yeah,
to the trail.
yeah. So it'll be a great property
Are
owner.
those two lots being consolidated or into one, or do they have to? They don't have to, right? Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none and seeing no lights, we will call the question. So I'll read that again. The application received from the Boys and Girls Club of Summerside to allow a group home as a discretionary use in the medium-density residential R3 zone be recommended to be approved by council. And that was moved by Councillor Ramsey and seconded by Councillor Adams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. And that, your worship, wraps up the planning board, so we'll call for a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by your worship. We are adjourned.
Thank you.